Go ahead and get started with the committee of the whole meeting. Thank you for being here early. In the committee of the whole at the last meeting was placed the application for the Trex, request for a Trex liquor license transfer in for Fueled Collective from Esquire Theater in Cincinnati. Drew Chalfant is here, the attorney for Fuel Collective, and I can tell you that he and I have had several conversations. He has information for you. I also spent some time on the phone with the Ohio Department of Liquor Control and others. I asked Mr. Chalfant, was the Esquire going out of business? And the answer is no. They are part of an entertainment district now, and so they don't need, Ludlow Avenue in Cincinnati is now an entertainment district, and so they contribute to that entertainment district license and no longer need theirs. I also spoke with James, a representative of the Ohio Department of Liquor Control today. They explained that in order for, and I'll give you this information because of a letter that's later on our council agenda. If someone is not using a liquor license for more than 30 days, they are supposed to put it in safekeeping with the state of Ohio Department of Liquor Control. So even if you're doing a remodel and you're not using it for 30 days, it's supposed to go into safekeeping. Some licenses are listed as pending because they may be pending being sold or a business being open or whatever. But in order for a license to be listed as available for sale, it is traditionally sent to the Ohio Department of Liquor Control for safekeeping. There are 2 licenses in safekeeping right now. One is Max and Irma's, which will likely be in safekeeping for the restaurant that replaces it in Norwood, and the other is Gunny's, which may not be available for purchase. There's some.
Which one was that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Gunny's, or I think it's Gunny's. There may be some hold up with that. There's some hold up with that one. So with that information, I also asked Mr. Chalfant, why do you need a second license when it's the same building on the second floor? So I'm going to let him answer that. Mr. Chalfant, if you can.
No problem. I just want to say first off, thank you all for being here early on my account. I really appreciate you guys sitting down to talk about this. So the reason why we anticipate needing a license for the second floor is because we have 2 leaseholds in the Rookwood Exchange building, and one is on the retail level, first floor, and we've taken out an additional 12,000 square feet of space on the second floor of the building, but it's in a non-contiguous leasehold. So in order for you to go from one premises to the other, you actually have to access common areas and either a staircase or an elevator, and there's no dedicated, exclusive area that you can go from one premises to the other. So in speaking with our liquor attorney that we retained, and then also some people in compliance of the Division of Liquor, they were a little bit bearish on whether or not they could actually grant an expansion license. They've gotten creative in the past, but usually it involves something to the extent of a traversable fire escape or something that actually links the 2 premises together. With us, that's not the case. There's a possibility that they may allow for an expansion, and that is still pending. In that situation, we may have to do some sort of affidavit or something that says that if you have a drink from the first floor, you won't go through the common areas and carry a cocktail up to the second floor. So we are still exploring that avenue. Unfortunately, guys were swinging hammers up in that second floor today, so we can't. As we explore the expansion, we also need to pursue the possibility of transferring this license so that we're not left holding the bag with an open facility that has a full bar and a staff that we can only sell, soft drinks at for months as we await the transfer approval.
Questions of Mr. Chalfant? Yes, James, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. How much are you all paying for the license from, or how much have you agreed to pay for the license from that you're getting from Cincinnati?
Yes, so we entered into an asset purchase agreement with the Esquire on the 14th of August, and we are paying $20,000 for the license, and we have a deposit down on that license as well.
Ms. Andrew?
Thank you. And thank you. I did talk to the liquor license a couple times also, and exactly what you said is what I was told. But I wanted to let everybody know there was a question last week, is what happens to the liquor license once you get it, since it's a Trex license. And they do have, just want to let they do have the right to sell it and do anything. It becomes just a normal license. It's always a Trex, but they can do whatever they want with it.
Right. So, in the situation where we would, go under deposit, as we are right now, we find ourselves under deposit, under contract for this license. There's a clawback if the Trex doesn't go through, in which case the deposit flows back, and we either continue exploring other avenues, or hopefully the expansion goes through. If the expansion goes through before we've completed this purchase, we'll just kind of look at the deposit almost as a 10% insurance policy, and we won't pursue the license any further. We're not looking to just hold it as an asset on our books. We won't move forward with the Trex, and it won't be Trexed into Norwood. So.
Good information. Other questions? Ms. Stevenson?
Yes, I have two. One, just going back to what you shared, Madam President, about safekeeping. Is use defined by sales? Like you said, if it's 30 days of no use, how is that considered? Did you know?
I'm not sure I understand what the question is. If I'm going to remodel my restaurant, I'm not going to use it for 30 days. I'll put it into, technically you are supposed to put it into safekeeping, although I think sometimes that doesn't happen. For instance, Max and Irma's, they've shut down. That building is being torn down. There's a new building, new construction that is going up, and my guess is that they are put that into safekeeping so that they can transfer that to the new restaurant that goes there.
Okay.
So that is how, when people look to purchase licenses, they look to the Ohio Department of Liquor Control webpage to see if there are any licenses in safekeeping. My understanding is that sometimes people don't do that, even though they're supposed to, but I spoke to an attorney today who specializes in liquor licenses in Columbus, and they say that there's kind of a network it's a specialty where attorneys specialize in liquor control permits, and so there's kind of a network where they can call each other and say, hey, do you have one for sale in Norwood?
Yeah, unfortunately, going towards the safekeeping list or the pending list is you're essentially cold calling all of the people who happen to have issued permits, or not even issued, just pending permits. So yeah, as she mentioned, there's the attorneys act as brokers in these situations. So to the extent there would have been one available for us to pursue the Norwood one before going after this one from the Esquire, if that one would have been put up for sale through one of these kind of known networks of attorneys, we would have pursued that one so that we wouldn't have had to gone through the Trex process. So unfortunately, we found out about this kind of after we're already under contract and after we're already kind of have a sunk cost to an outside attorney for negotiating this agreement as well. So.
And there are two establishments, my understanding is there are two establishments on a waiting list for a Norwood issued license, like a homegrown license, if you will. There are two people on the waiting list. Before you would, even if you got on the waiting list, you would be number 3 now.
Oh, and I believe you're actually at a -1 on the quota as well, so we would probably be 4th in line. As far as either you're at a -1 for both a D3 combo, which is what we need, or a D5, D6 combo. So.
And if anybody needs, this was sent out once before about the different types of liquor licenses. I made a few extra copies if anybody needs that for the sake of discussion tonight, for what different classes of licenses there are. So, yes, Mr. Bonsall.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Can you repeat that, the combos that you're looking for?
Yeah, so for the retail operations that we're going to do, we need either a D3 combo, as it's known, and it's a combination of several licenses. I believe it's a D1, 2, and 3, and essentially that gets you the ability to sell both beer, wine, and spirits up until a certain time period, and then the D6 tag-along is also for Sunday sales. And essentially, effectively, that D1, 2, 3 combo functions the same as a D5 license. There's just a slightly higher cost of renewal for the D3 combo because you'll actually be renewing 3 licenses at a time as opposed to 1. So either one works for our planned operations. Unfortunately, with the Ohio quota system and the overabundance of licenses currently in Norwood, that we're at a -1 for both of those types. So you're over quota in the area. Sure.
And that's for on-premises consumption only?
That's correct.
Until 1 a.m.?
Until 1 a.m. No, I'm sorry, the D5 takes you to 230.
The D3, I mean.
The D3 combo gets you to 230 as well. Yeah. We don't ever anticipate, the kind of alcohol service that we anticipate doing is we're not the pilot in. We're not going to be open till late in the evening. It's more receptions, corporate events, parties, cocktail hours, happy hours, that kind of thing. I think our latest posted hours now are 11 p.m. and that's our weekend hours. So.
Ms. Stevenson?
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm, are these the same licenses you applied for the first floor?
So the license that we got for the first floor was a D5, and that was also, that came into Norwood through a Trex to our affiliate entity that is located right next door to Field Collective, and that's known as At the LB. It's an exercise and fitness studio that also doubles as kind of a social hall event space. Once we opened Field Collective, we have kind of dedicated the LB space much more to the fitness offering, and now the Field Collective hosts the corporate events and the social function events. So it's a much larger space in Field, and it's designed for those hospitality type events. So after trexing into LB, operating under that license for approximately a year, once Field opened, we then transferred it over to Field, and now because we find ourselves opening on the second floor of that non-contiguous space is why we need to pursue an additional license for the second floor. So downstairs is a D5, upstairs will be a D3 combo if we're able to trex this one in the Esquire.
Mr. Bonson?
How many field collectives are there in the country?
So the Cincinnati location is the flagship location that we're going to be franchising nationwide. We partnered with a group out of Manhattan who operated one co-working space in Manhattan. It's still branded as a Field Collective, but it's not a co-working space that you can have a membership to. We also partnered with an operational partner out of Minneapolis, and they have 4 in the Minneapolis area that have all recently rebranded to Field Collective, and one is opened in Chicago as well. And we're actively franchising the concept in various states.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Yeah.
You look perplexed, Ms. Stevenson.
I was trying, thank you. I do have a couple more questions.
Yeah, sure.
You said this is your flagship location.
That's correct.
Okay. I think in our last regular meeting when we brought up the topic of the application, that's when we were kind of rehearsing the initial choice to locate in Rookwood and how that was marketed. I'm curious to find out, are you marketing your flagship location as Norwood?
I'm not sure how you mean. Are we marketing it as Norwood?
You're located in Norwood.
That's right.
Are you naming that your flagship location for these franchises is in Norwood?
Versus Cincinnati.
We don't have any outward-facing materials that say that it's not Field Collective Cincinnati.
Sure.
Nor is it Field Collective Norwood. I mean, obviously we tell people that we are located in Norwood. I don't think I have much more for you on that, unfortunately.
That's fine if that's your answer. I was just curious since you named it as your flagship. I just didn't know if that was a part of how you talked about it. That's helpful.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Of course.
We can't come to any decision in a committee of the whole meeting. We just discuss, and it will likely come up under unfinished business. Well, actually, I will do a committee report that just says we met and discussed it with you. Under unfinished business, we'll bring it up and see what council wants to do.
Okay.
So,
I have the Trex form here. Should I leave that with you, or?
you want it? Just give it to Mr. Moore.
Absolutely. I
Or we can
appreciate
give it
everyone's
to
time. Thank you.
our clerk. You can give it to our clerk of council, depending on what council does with it. We'll probably have you sign it anyway. No?
I have somebody from the legislative authority sign it.
Okay,
That's all right.
I'll do it. Assuming we do this. Okay.
That's a smart attorney. We're not supposed to sign
Yeah,
anything.
of course, yeah.
Plausible
Don't
deniability.
put your name on anything.
I signed one of that.
All right. Yeah, you can just right here. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We will
Thank you.
adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.